for some new box office predictions. As always, we kick this video off with our Fantasy Movie League recap. Important weeks in Fantasy Movie League because this upcoming week is the very last weekend of play in the summer season. Then we're going to have a season winner and someone to send new prizes to. But before we get there, we actually only had one person win last weekend. This individual didn't get a perfect lineup, but they are our top scorer in the entire league. That player is Avalon PC Cineplex. Congratulations on the big win. Job well done. I think right now I'm number 21. I had a rough start to the summer season, kept forgetting to set my lineups, made me so mad, but I've done really well in the last few weeks, so hopefully I continue that through the end of the summer season. As for the top 5 rankings, sadly I had another 2 for 5 week, and what happened is kind of what I expected. It's that the 5, 4, and 3 position had numbers that were just so close. It was difficult to nail the order, but Angel Has Fallen did open up on top as expected, actually bigger than I expected. It wound up making $21.4 million. Good Boys held strong at number 2 with a respectable 45.6% dip, making another $11.6 million. Then it was Overcomer, which topped my prediction, making $8.1 million, which was good enough for the number 3 spot. Hobbs and Shaw took number 4 with $8.068 million, and then The Lion King followed right behind with $8.065 million of its own. Before we begin this new round of predictions here, a reminder, it's Labor Day weekend. It's a long weekend. All of my final numbers are going to be for the 3-day weekend, but I will include some 4-day predictions in there as well. He'll be up here in a minute. Kicking this off with actually a little bit of a shakeup here in the order. So for a good while, ever since Hobbs and Shaw has hit theaters, Hobbs and Shaw has been ahead of The Lion King, but I think this is the weekend that changes, so that makes my number 5 for the weekend, Hobbs and Shaw. I think it's about time for me to move away from the Fast and Furious franchise comparisons for this one, and instead I'm going to look at Mission Impossible Fallout. The weekend before Labor Day in that movie's run, it made a very similar amount as to what Hobbs and Shaw made last weekend. So if I look at Labor Day for Fallout, it dropped 13%, a very low number, but I don't think Hobbs and Shaw is going to go that low, and just adding to that suspicion is the fact that Fallout had the higher cinema score. But even if Hobbs and Shaw loses 25% this weekend, it still could make another $6 million for the 3-day weekend and $8 million for 4. All right, let's make our way over to the 4 spot, where I guess you could say I might have my riskier pick of the weekend, because this is where I have the movie Overcomer. I'm going right back to When the Game Stands Tall for this one, because again, I do think it's still a pretty good comp. They opened about the same time of year, made about the same amount of money opening weekend, and now looking ahead, I do have to consider the fact that Overcomer had the better per theater average, and I think that's going to work in its favor. So looking at weekend 2 for When the Game Stands Tall, it wound up dropping 28.3%. So I think that number is coming down for Overcomer, and let's say it comes down 10%, which seems like a real possibility during a holiday weekend, loses 18% of its opening weekend profits. That means the movie might make another $6.5 million for the 3-day run and then $8.5 million for the full holiday weekend. Next up at the number 3 spot, this is where I have The Lion King just moving right back up the charts. Going back to my commentary on Hobbs and Shaw and comparing that movie to Mission Impossible Fallout, Lion King, I think, has a chance of repeating that exact same success. I actually think the holiday weekend might help The Lion King more than most of the other movies on the charts right now. So let's say it repeats Fallout's 13% drop over Labor Day weekend. That means The Lion King could make another $7 million in 3 days and $10 million in 4. And now we're moving over to my number 2 pick, and that is where I have Good Boys. It's still looking like Blockers is a very good comp for this one, and that's going to work in Good Boys' favor because Blockers, moving from weekend 2 to weekend 3 of its run, it saw its percent change come down a lot. It went from 47.6% all the way down to 36.5%. So the questions I have now is, given the lack of competition for Good Boys right now, why can't it repeat just that? But on top of that, because of the holiday weekend, why can't it see an even bigger dip in its percent change? And that is what I think is going to happen. So let's take that 45.6% drop from last weekend for Good Boys and bring it all the way down to an even 20%. I think this movie is a very good shot at making another $9.5 million in 3 days and $13 million in 4. So now you could probably tell my number one movie yet again is Angel Has Fallen. So after this one exceeded expectations opening weekend and scored that A- cinema score, I've got a pretty good feeling about this one. Looking at London Has Fallen, which opened with a very similar amount of money, weekend 2 of that movie's run, it dropped 50%. The thing is, as we've already discussed in this video, there's not much competition out there right now, whereas weekend 2 of London Has Fallen, it was going up against weekend 2 of Zootopia and then also the opening of 10 Cloverfield Lane. So a good deal more competition there. Plus, it didn't have the holiday weekend. So I want to bring that percent change down a good deal. I'm going to go with 10%, play it a little safe with this one. Say that Angel Has Fallen is dropping 40% this weekend and making $13 million in 3 days and another $16.5 million in 4. That's it. It brings us to the recap now. My number one movie for the weekend is Angel Has Fallen with $13 million for 3 days in theaters. Then it's Good Boys at number 2 with $9.5 million. The Lion King comes in at number 3 with $7 million in 3 days. Then it's Overcomer at number 4 with $6.5 million. And then finally, Hobbs and Shaw rounding out my top 5 with $6 million for the 3-day weekend. It's a wrap for me, but now I leave it to you. Hit the comment section below, put your lists right there, and do not forget to lock those lineups in Fantasy Movie League. Again, last weekend of the summer season. If you want to win those prizes, go on and lock those lineups ASAP. All right, before I say goodbye, we've got a very, very special group of Patreons to shout out right now because this group of 4 here, they are my top tier members. I've known them all for a while now. Greatly appreciate their continued support and also the fact that I get to chat with them and get to know them because they're all great individuals, and they are Steven, Evan, Luke, and Billy. I'm going to say it over and over again. I don't care. You guys rock. I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you for being here. Can't wait to chat again soon. And to everybody out there, thanks for watching this video. Don't leave without liking and sharing it, and then tune in next week. Next week when I'm going to be in New York. I'm doing box office predictions from New York. See you then.